All right, so it is just a minute past 2, so thank you all for joining us on Tuesday, for tuning in. We're going to discuss today remote learning resources for our ELLs. I know many of us are, taking a look at all of those lists that have all of these resources that are currently free or have trials, and it can be overwhelming. So we just want to highlight 3 of those resources that you may already be using, but that we know are beneficial for or to our ELLs. So I'm Denise, if we haven't met. I'm a resource specialist for the Long Island RBERN at Eastern Suffolk BOCES, and my colleague Pat Parpounas is also on with us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Thanks.
Hi, how are you?
All right. Before we get started, just a little housekeeping. If you joined after my initial announcement, make sure that you rename yourself as your full name, and then in the chat, please put your full name so that we can keep a record for attendance. Okay. Also, if everyone should be muted, if you're not, you can mute yourself. This way we don't get feedback from everyone. So if you're not already muted, please mute yourself. And we'll try to utilize the chat. So if you have some questions, we'll put it in the chat first before unmuting yourself. This way, we can get to more questions and we don't overwhelm ourselves. All right. Here's our website at Eastern Suffolk BOCES. So you can check here for announcements, and also all the distance and remote learning courses that we are offering will be listed here and advertised here. And then there'll be links to our My Learning Plan catalog as well. All right. And just to go back, that is our Twitter handle. If you are not already following us on Twitter, we share a lot of resources. We retweet a lot of the resources that you are all using. So it's a great library for all of us to use. So if you're not already following us, especially now, it's not just from Long Island teachers, but nationwide and actually worldwide. So if you're not following us already, that would be something you might want to consider, definitely. All right, here's all our contact information, and I will display it again at the end so that if you need to take a screenshot, you'll be able to do that. All of our email addresses that we are constantly checking our email. So if you have any questions during this time when we're not in the office, please email us with any questions or concerns that you have. Okay. Also today, in addition to Pat and myself, we also have Ann Weiss from Discovery Education on with us, and she will be sharing a little bit of how we can use Discovery Education to work with our ELLs. Ann, are you here already?
Yes, she's in. I've seen her. She's in.
Okay. All right. So Ann will be talking with us shortly. Okay. Thanks. Hi, Ann. Thank you. All right. So here's our agenda. Just a brief overview of what remote learning is. We're all kind of thrown into it already. We'll identify some resources. Pat and I will share too, and then Ann will share just what she has from Discovery Education. And then also just some resources to help you stay organized, to organize your students, organize yourself for accountability. And then some questions, and we can answer those questions at the end. And then also at the end, again, I will tell you that you can join us again on Friday. We're going to have a follow-up, and we may actually be contacting some of you who are using different resources to share a little bit about those resources, and also how they're helping support the learning of your ELLs. Okay. So what is remote learning, right? It's what we're doing already. There's no physical classroom. We're separating from our students by time and distance. We're making a lot of phone calls, emails, discussion boards, video conferencing like we're doing now. You might be using a platform like Google Classroom, right? There are 2 ways that learning can occur, remote learning can occur. We have synchronous learning, and that's when teachers and students are online at the same time. So you may be doing that already, where you meet with your class through Zoom, or you all log on to Google Hangout Meets at a certain time every day, or specific days. And then we also have asynchronous digital learning, where teachers and students are working on the same task, but at different times of the day. Or you may also be doing a combination of both of these as well. So which resources are you currently relying on? As we said, there are numerous resources, especially now there are resources that are free, so that something that your district or you may not have used in the past, but because it's free now, you can give it a try. But the lists are extensive. And so if you've already vetted some of these resources and websites and programs and you can share them with us, we'd like you to use the chat. In the chat, you can share those resources, and then your colleagues may contact you or ask more about those resources, either in the chat or later on in the presentation. Or Pat and I may contact you to share a little bit more about that resource on Friday. And if you're available, we would love to have you there. Okay, so the two resources that we are going to discuss are Brainpop and PBS Learning Media. These may already be digital resources that you are using, that you have subscriptions to. And so it's something that you're familiar with. And if you've been using it in the classroom, it's something you want to continue because your students will have that familiarity. Okay. Brainpop right now, if you don't have it, or if you don't have access to all of the products, so you have Brainpop, Brainpop Junior, Brainpop L, and then Espanol and in French as well. If you don't have a subscription to all of those products, you can get one now for free. It does say 30-day trial, but I do believe on the website it's been updated. And if you create an account and you are teaching in a state where schools are closed, it will remain free for during that time. So it may be more than the 30 days. Okay, so unfortunately, we fall into that category. You can create an account as a teacher or as a school. So if you're an administrator, if you have that role in your school or in your department to create an account for the entire school or district or department, you can do that as well. Or you can create an account as a parent, which is what I did, so I can even use it with my own children at home. I like it for ELLs because Brainpop L has a placement test, so you could assign this self-paced placement test for your students. And then once you have the data that tells you where the students have placed, then they have different levels of activity. So level 1, 2, and 3. And this is a screenshot from Brainpop L that you can see here. And it focuses, this is more of a supplemental feature because it focuses more on different language forms. So it might be talking about pronouns. I think the feature here for today, I cut it off, but I believe it was idioms. And then what they're learning and practicing on Brainpop L based on their placement level, they will transfer over to the content lessons that they're engaging in, whether it's a module that you put together as the L teacher or and bilingual teacher, or that you put together as a classroom teacher. They also then, this is a screenshot from Brainpop. The one previous, as I noted, was from Brainpop L. So this is talking about the coronavirus, maybe giving students the opportunity to do a little research of on their own, being that they're kind of bombarded with all this information right now from their parents and also from the TV. So maybe doing a little research on their own. It might be something that they're interested in, so motivated to learn more about. You can see all of the different things that they can do. So they can watch the video, the movie, they can make a map, they can look at the different vocabulary and answer vocabulary questions and the quiz. And Brainpop has gotten much better with the questions that they ask. So they're not simple recall questions from the movie, but they are more text dependent. So it gives students the opportunity to analyze a little bit more of what they are engaged in on the website. They can also complete activities, which I think I have, yep, next. They can fill out the worksheets online, they can print it, or they can save it as a PDF and email it to you. So if you assigned a Brainpop video on your module, then you could have students complete the work and post it as an assignment to Google Classroom as well, something that you can grade or later have a discussion about, or at least just have there for accountability that students are doing the work and engaging in the content. All right. Here's just a little teacher testimonial saying how it invited a handful of my most highly motivated students, and even more importantly, my less motivated ones. And I think that's important because depending on where you are in your remote learning continuity plan, you're going to see a change in students. So once students become familiar with the platform, especially if it's something you had to roll out after school's closed, once you see that they are, once they become more familiar with it, less stressful, and we're all familiar with it, you'll see a change in students where even your introvert students who don't volunteer so much in school or in the classroom, they're doing the work, they're asking the questions. And it's also self-paced. So you'll see a change in all of your students in that if I wanted to watch the video again, it might not be something that I was able to do in the classroom, but now because I'm learning, independently at my own pace, I can watch the video again. Or if it was more part of a lesson of a synchronous learning lesson where you displayed the video for your entire class and you watch together and you have a discussion, your students can always go back later and rewatch that video if they had some questions about it, or if they enjoyed it and they wanted to learn more about it. And so for our ELLs, that opportunity to go back and watch the videos, more than once. There's also the captions in English. Most of the videos are also available in Spanish. So if Spanish is the high incident language in your classroom or in your district, your school, that is helpful for your students as well. Okay. Again, here's what the link looks like, the form, and it's pretty quick. So you can, quick and easy, you can complete. If you don't already have access to Brainpop, you just create a request and then it will come to your email and you'll be ready to go right, pretty immediately. I did it on my own as well, and it was pretty quick. Okay. Are there any, before we move on, any questions about Brainpop, or to the extent that I just shared? Let's take a look at the.
Do you know how to post it to Google Classroom?
Actually, on Google, on Brainpop, I didn't see a feature because it's not something that I use, because I'm outside of the classroom right now. But I did see that they did not have a link where it can directly go to Google Classrooms like PBS Learning has, which I'll show you next. But you would copy the link. So as long as students have a login, and that's because you would create your own login, you create the request, your own login, and you give students the code. So as long as they have that login, then once they have the link, they can just log in on their own. So they don't have something that seamlessly goes to Google Classroom, but as long as you attach the link, students can get there fairly quickly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. All right, so the next one, the next resource is PBS Learning Media. And initially when I saw PBS, of course, I think of, Channel 21, and I was like, it's more for my kids watch Elmo on there. So I wasn't really sure how this was going to help my ELLs besides just being visual media. But once I took a look and Pat and I were talking about it and exploring a little bit more, they have a great library of different resources and different subjects. And different levels as well, right? So, and it goes from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And this one does have that seamless sync to Google Classroom. So if you are using Google Classroom, it's a little easier just to kind of click the icon and it will go to your assignment. One thing to note, because Pat and I played around with this on our own Google Classroom, is that if you want to assign an activity from PBS Learning Media, you must create the activity first or the assignment first in Google Classroom. So I would go to Google Classroom, I'd create my assignment, and now when I go back to PBS, and I click Google Classroom, it'll have a drop-down menu where it asks me to assign it to an existing assignment. So that's the one thing that I learned, you have to create the assignment first, and then you can link the media from PBS there. Okay, you can create lessons, puzzles, quizzes. If you give students a class code, they don't need a class code, but if you want to manage the classes and the assignments through PBS, you can create a class code there as well. Okay. Also, if you're using Remind, it is integrated with Remind also. So you can, those two different platforms make it a little bit easier. And I know from talking to our different districts throughout the region, most are using Google Classroom. I'm not sure how it syncs with other platforms like Schoology, but you know, I'm sure you can try, and it seems to be pretty easy to work with. Here's just one example, again, kind of sticking with our students being interested and, you know, looking to learn more about why school is closed and what's happening. They have different resources, again, from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. And this can be something where, again, if it's synchronous, you are displaying a video or some content. Their lessons here kind of go through like modules. So, and after each, a few sets of, a set of slides, there'll be some sort of activity. So it might be some sort of discussion question or reflection. It might be a quiz. And so it kind of goes through like a module. So you might be doing it together as a class and having discussion, or you might want to assign it, like we said, through Google Classroom or by posting the link on a different platform for your students to go back to. Okay. Here's another example of a lesson that students might engage in. So this is away from kind of learning about what's happening in the world as far as the virus right now. This is character conflict. And when I saw it, I thought it was interesting because if anyone recognizes the boy in the clip there, the photo, that's Moises from the video Immersion. And if you take a look at the teacher lesson plan, so beneath the photo, you'll see the supported materials. And I wanted to catch that so that you can see that this is pretty, you know, a low prep activity where the lesson plan's already there, the vocabulary is there, the discussion questions are available. They give you some different standards that this particular module might help support. And the other thing too is that by using you know, this particular lesson and talking about character conflict, they're talking about internal and external conflicts. You know, we're continuing to sustain our cultural responsive education for our students. So we may have students that connect with Moises. We may have students who have family members that connect with Moises' story. And we may even have students who Moises is similar to their peers. And then of course we may also have some of our students where they don't have this experience, but we're sharing something new about a culture that they haven't experienced, or you know, someone that they didn't know, like I said, had this experience. So continuing to not only teach about our literacy here, culture and character conflicts, but also making sure that we are sustaining the culture of our students as well. It might make students feel you know, a connection, and they'll be more engaged in the activity, but also that sense of belonging, that welcoming and affirming environment. As you know, this is an environment that's very different right now. You know, being that we're talking through a screen, but that I have this connection and I feel more comfortable and eager to go through this particular module. All right. So how could you leverage these resources in a remote learning? We're going to ask you to share your ideas in the chat. And you can do that throughout the remainder of our presentation. So if something comes to you and you say, you know what, this is how I'm already using Brainpop or PBS Learning Media, or I didn't know that either of these resources could do that, or you have a great idea of how you might incorporate it into your learning plan going forward, please put it in the chat, because we will download the chat later on and share our findings with all of you as well. All right. And with that, before we move on to Discovery Education, here are just some templates. If your district or your administrator has not given you something already to kind of keep organized, these are two different plans that we found that most teachers throughout the region are using. So the platform, the link, the username, the password, any notes. We hope that our students in the upper grades, so our adolescents, kind of are keeping track of all of their login information, just like they do for all of their social media accounts. But we know for our little kids, if we are using different platforms, because there's such a plethora right now, it's important to kind of keep track of the different usernames and passwords and class codes. This way it doesn't get too confusing and students don't kind of fall off and say, well, I didn't know my password. You may want to even keep this in your Google Classroom, or again, whatever platform you're using, so that students can kind of go back and access it, and families as well. If the student's saying, I don't know my password, well, it might be right there for them. Okay. Pat and I also kind of went through some of the different resources that are available right now, whether it's for free or a free trial. You know, now may be the time to try it out. These are ones that are specific for working with our ELLs. Okay. And I do believe Pat and I are going to talk about the Khan Academy on Friday for Follow-Up Friday. So if you haven't used that resource, or you have used that resource before, you may want to join us on Friday to talk more about it. Like I said, these lists can be overwhelming. So we put a few together that you can look back at later when we make the presentation available. And you can kind of click on maybe, you know, 1 or 2 a week to kind of see, you know, not to overwhelm yourself and your students, but to kind of see what else is available out there. I think we're also going to talk on Friday about Dave's ESL Cafe. That is a website that I have used to help my students with different listening activities. And it's pretty self-paced, where you can give students a link to a listening activity on a particular topic. And then if it's synchronous, you can listen together and have a discussion about what was occurring in that conversation. Or if it's asynchronous, you can post the link and some questions of your own, or the website also has some questions there that students can respond to. There's no login, so if they were responding to those questions, you wouldn't see their responses. So you might want to then create, you know, something like a Google form or something. But we're going to talk more about that resource and some of these other ones on Friday during our Follow-Up Friday. And if you have used any, or if you try them out between now and then, you may want to get in touch with, if you can, get in touch with Pat and I to kind of let us know, you know, what you think and how you are trying to, we'll try to use it. All right. 2 other things to kind of keep in mind. Our colleague, Erica Flores, she created a Powtoon, and it talks about scaffolding for ELLs in a digital classroom. So we have to remember that whatever we did in the classroom for our ELLs based on the proficiency level, we need to continue to do in the digital classroom. So that's a great resource, and she gives you some great ideas. The other thing too, in the bottom right corner, is making distance learning accessible. So for our students who are ELLs, but also may have disabilities, you know, there's other things that we want to kind of keep in mind that maybe we never had to think about because we were in the classroom, in the physical classroom. But, you know, we may need screen readers for some of your students, text magnification, even the text colors and the background colors. Those are all things that we have to keep in mind for some of our students. You know, even for our students that don't have disabilities, it may become overwhelming or hard to see. So you always want to take a look at the module or the lesson that you've created and reflect on it as the user and say, you know, what might be challenging, or even have a peer or your co-teacher take a look and say, you know, what do you think of this? Is there something we have to change? Even a dictionary or translated glossary, whatever we were doing in the classroom for our students, you know, they still need that support when we're looking at distance learning. Also, here is a link. So to the Long Island RBERN Supporting ELLs Online. If you click there, you'll go to our page where we have not only Erica's scaffolding for ELLs video, but we also have other presentations for different subgroups of ELLs. So we have a site, we have, I created one for ELLs with disabilities, also other digital resources and the flipped classroom. So take a look at those resources that are on our website, and you can do that by clicking the link once we have this presentation available to you. Okay. All right. So the third resource we want to share is from Discovery Education. And so, Anne, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that when you're ready, you can share your screen. Sorry, Anne, I think you're on mute.
I've just been having a whole long conversation by myself.
Oh, sorry.
I was making a funny comment about the picture that appeared on the screen, and
it needs some updates. But at any rate, good to see all of you. I am going to share my screen quickly here. And hopefully you can see my PowerPoint. Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for your time today. I did have the opportunity to meet with coordinators and directors. Gosh, I guess it was just on, what days? Anyway, last week at some point, to share some of the resources from Discovery Education. We are partnered with many districts on Long Island, and as I looked in your chat, I believe we have almost full partnership, meaning many of the schools that you are working in now actually do subscribe to Discovery Education, probably through your BOCES. So if that is not true, you can certainly raise your hand, and if you are interested in the service, we are extending Discovery Education experience at no charge. That's free access through the end of the school year, which would mean June 30th, 2020. So as we go through this, if you're interested, please let me know. But I wanted to just provide first some background about Discovery Education and who we are. Many of you may know that we are actually a natural extension of Discovery Communication, which is our parent company. And what makes this wonderful is that we are able to leverage resources from some of these very wonderful, impactful television shows, which I would imagine some of you watch on a daily basis, perhaps. I know I'm addicted to Discovery Investigation, which I haven't watched recently, but certainly you've probably seen the HGTV channel. We also just purchased the Scripts network, which is all the food channels. So again, we can leverage a lot of this great, rich content through our partnership and our parent company. And we are a global company. So as we know, we're in a global pandemic. And so as Discovery Education, we have a purview into many different countries and cultures that we work with throughout the world. So as far south as Chile, we have a very strong footprint in the UK with our Discovery Education Espresso. That is, we all love espresso. This is a different type of espresso. So for our education arm, and we are working with the country of Egypt. And what we're doing and have been doing over the past few years is building their K-12 curriculum with a focus on STEM. So you are in good company if you're working with us now and have our service, in that we have about 50 million students in our service, as well as 4.5 million educators. I will say that this number should be going up because of our free access that we're providing. And we have also just partnered with New York City DOE. So all of those 1.1 million students now have access to our resource. And when we talk about engaging students, it's important to point out that we partner with like-minded corporations, and we build resources that we're able to add to our service at no cost. So you'll see when I show my screen, we have a wonderful partnership with Major League Baseball. And we talk about Major League Baseball and STEM activities that students can see themselves as part of with Major League Baseball. Not everybody can be on the field, but students can certainly be involved. And we have a number of resources. We're going to talk a little bit today about what we call Discovery Education Experience. Whoops. And that is what most districts are using currently. Experience is a K-12 supplemental resource. But I'm also going to give you a sneak peek into our tech books. And the reason I want to do that is because we have within Science Tech Book and Social Studies Tech Book, we have authentic Spanish translation. as well as compatibility with Google Translate. So let me just get on my screen here, and I'm going to go live to my site. Okay, that didn't work. There we go. All right, great. So what you're looking at here is my home screen for Discovery Education Experience. And hopefully this looks familiar to many of you on the call. So again, we have many, many resources, and particularly resources that we have created to support our EL students. So we have created a channel, and when I talk about channels, if you think about Netflix, you go to a channel and you see many different options for that channel and TV or shows. So under Spanish language resources, for example, when I pull this up, and this has been a little slow for me today, and I wonder why. Maybe a lot of people are on the internet. What we have done is we have curated, like a museum curator would curate, medieval swords. We have chosen wonderful resources to be paired with particular topics. So we created this channel. And again, this loads slowly. I've noticed this is, and it may be because a lot of people are on it, which is good news. But these are all Spanish videos that we think would work well in life science. And you can see I have grade bands here. So for K5, I have these resources bucketed by topic. So as I scroll down, if it lets me scroll, there we go. Come on, come on. We have physical science. I have some animated hero classics, all in Spanish. And folktales in Spanish, as well as a partnership that we have with Girl Scouts we call Girls Get STEM. And these are also Spanish activities and videos. So this again is a new channel for us, but certainly important and impactful for your students. And I was listening to your, Denise, when you were talking about other resources, which I think is great. And I'm glad that other companies are offering free support. I'm going to go back to my homepage. I want to just point out something that in working with, if I can get back to my homepage, yikes. There we go, come on. I wanted to point out something that I think is unique to Discovery Education, and that is standards alignment. So in this top tab here, I have a by standard tile. And when I click on by standard, I can pull up, for example, in the state of New York, I happen to be in a national demo account here, but I'm going to scroll down to New York. And I have resources that are aligned to standards. So for example, if I go into 2016 learning standards, which are my new New York State Science learning standards, I can click into science and then I can search by grade level. And if I go to grade 4, for example, I can expand these standards. And you'll notice that these are hyperlinks. So I can hyperlink to this particular standard. And with this one standard, I have 912 results. Now that can be overwhelming, but I'm going to share with you that there are many different activities. So one of the things that we're known for are our multimodal content. So when I click on more, I may have an audio file. I have interactives, again, tagging back to this particular standard, texts, images, And of course, what we're known for, because you probably knew us when we were Discovery Education streaming, are our videos. So this is the bulk of our resources here, but I can filter. And perhaps it would be best for your students to have the ability for closed captions. So now you'll notice that I have all closed caption videos here. And if I click on this first video, which is from our partnership with Discovery Communication about straws. So now I'm opening this video and I can play it right here with the closed caption. And the caption's on.
Hi, my name is Linda Booker and I'm a documentary filmmaker.
We have also built in transcripts. So not only can students watch the video and follow the caption here, you can also print out a transcript. And as the person is speaking or the video is going, the transcript will be tracked. There's also the ability to search. So if you're working on a particular vocabulary term, there's the ability for search. And the word will come up in that highlighted sentence. So that's one way that we can support students. But additionally, I wanted to show you another resource that we have called Techbook. So Techbook is really a core curricular resource, while Discovery Education Experience is wonderful for supplementing what you're already doing. We do offer a core resource. So when I click on Social Studies Techbook, you'll notice that I happen to be in world history. So this is something that could be used for example, 6th grade. And going in and viewing concept, I'm just going to go to the explore phase here. I have options, and actually so do the students. So this gives students some voice and choice. As I am looking at this narration here, I have a language button on the right, which is my right toolbar. When I click on this, you see that I've got English reading level A. I can drop this 200 Lexile level points lower to reading level B. So that means that some of the text is more simplified. It doesn't even look like it here, but as you read through the sentences, you'll see that's true. I also have the ability to choose Spanish. And in working with partners all over the state, because although I live on Long Island, which is the most important thing in the world, and the most important place, I work all over New York State. So I just spoke with a partner who was very interested in this resource because she feels that her Spanish-speaking students are losing out on this virtual experience here. So this can be translated again. This is in authentic Spanish. But additionally, and if many of you have Chromebooks and Google Chromebooks in class, I can open up my Google Translate. And when I click translate this page and say I want to see this in simplified Chinese, we are fully compatible with Google Translate. So truly, for whatever the 100+ languages that Google Translate works with, we can certainly have that immediately translatable. I'm going to go back to English here because I don't speak Portuguese. Now I'm not looking at the chat. Are there any questions?
And just quickly, I was just looking through the chat. We had some questions about how districts that don't currently have a subscription to Discovery Education. Is this, and I think you had said it in the beginning, is right now the subscription is, there's no cost for the subscription right now?
That's correct. There's no cost for this subscription of Discovery Education Experience, which is the larger platform. And if any district is interested in taking a test drive or trialing the Techbooks, which is what I'm in right now, this is the Social Studies Techbook, it would be best if you can email me and let me know that you're interested in Techbook. If a district is interested in this Discovery Education Experience, that platform, I can send a link so that they can sign up. Now, teachers can't actually sign up. It has to be an administrator, whether it's a coordinator or director or, you know, an administrator.
Okay, thank you, Anne.
Sure. So the other thing that, and let me know when I run out of time, Denise, because I know you probably have to cover something else.
No, that's okay. We have, yeah, about 15 minutes, and no, we took kind of care of what we wanted to share so that you had enough time to share. So yeah, so we have about 15 minutes until 3. So take your time.
Great, thank you. I did want to go back and show you. Actually, let me go to. I'm going to go to Science Techbook. Just to clarify, the Social Studies Techbook is really most beneficial for grades 5 through 8. I would love to have it for high school and to go below 5th grade, but this really is the where it works in terms of content. For science, we are compatible, or it's a curriculum for K-12. So again, I just wanted to show you, science is laid out a little bit differently. But when I go to view unit, and let's go to static force. Now I have it already defaulted to Spanish. This just cracks me up. I mean, how great is that picture? We've all seen somebody come off a slide and look like that. Again, this is in that Spanish, but we have that compatibility with Google Translate. The other thing I wanted to point out about science, which is quite unique, is that you'll notice we have some highlighted vocabulary words. So I'm just going to, again, go back to reading level A. And if I click on static electricity, I go into my glossary. But again, speaking about those multimodal resources, it's not just a simple static, so to speak, definition, but rather we show an animation. Now this animation is without sound, and that is purposeful. We want students to try to understand what this video is about without actual sound. Additionally, we have the details, which is going to be the word in context and the definition. You can see here, we can toggle into Spanish. And we have videos and images. So again, multiple ways for students to access this content. Now, when I go back to my larger platform, once again, I know it's ad nauseam, and my husband made up an urban dictionary word called ad nauseam. We've learned a lot about the COVID-19 outbreak, but we do have a virus and outbreaks channel and resources in Spanish as well. So one of the things that we do specifically in our channels is we have these grade bands, and we do that to make sure that we are appropriate in the resources that we share for different audiences. So again, as a user, or if you're new to Discovery Education, These are wonderful resources that can be shared with your students, with your parents, with your community.
And the resource that you were just sharing, the viruses and outbreaks, is that only, are we still in the Techbook feature, or is that back on the education experience?
Experience feature, thank you,
Okay.
yes. And again, here are some resources in Spanish. And these look like their activities. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is if I were to open this, for example, this video segment, we talked about Google Classroom. A few things to note here. Number one, I can save this to a quick list so that how many times do you see a video or a resource and go, oh my God, but I don't know if I'll ever find it again. This actually can be added to a quick list, which populates at the top of the screen. Almost all of our videos can be downloaded. So let's say you're in a classroom environment and you're worried that you're going to lose internet or it's spotty. You can download videos at home and then pull them up with ease in the classroom. This can be assigned through our Discovery Education Experience platform, or I can click Share. And you'll see when I do that, I can share through Microsoft. This is a new one. We just added Teams. This link can be shared through Google Classroom. I believe this is Remind. It looks like Remind, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah. So it provides all of these technologies that we can integrate with and can be shared. We also do integrate with Google Classroom, with Clever, with ClassLink, and I absolutely highly recommend the SSO option for any district that uses us, because that way we can get students in and rostered. Now, the other thing to note is we have videos that are segmented. So here, this actually shows that there are 3 videos out of this larger video, which is 13 minutes and 45 seconds. We have broken them up into video segments with headlines. So teachers can easily look and say, you know what, actually, I want to show this infectious diseases part of this video. And Denise, just let me know if there are questions. So far, so good?
Yeah, I think so. There was one question, I think you did answer it without even knowing. Is it available on the experience feature single sign-on? So that's
Yes.
what you were saying. Okay.
Yes, I would love for all of my partner districts to do single sign-on if possible. And I'm dismayed when I know that districts have Discovery Education Experience, likely have had it for years, but they don't access it, and students don't have access. So I think that that's something that is underutilized, and certainly as a company, we work very well with your IT departments to do that single sign-on process. So I'm just going to click in quickly to another channel for holidays. And again, whoops, I got into St. Patty's Day. I think we missed St. Patty's Day, didn't we? I think everybody missed St. Patrick's Day, actually. So what we do is we really want to elevate and celebrate different groups and holidays. So here we have a channel for Ramadan, and when I open up this channel, we'll have some resources so that you can share with students, or students can share about their particular culture. So here again, we have video segments, reading passage, an image, and full videos. I should also point out that if I do a global search, I can also search by videos by language. So when I look at this magnifying glass without putting anything into the search field, I will pull up all of my resources. Now I'm going to go to the DE experience. And it's daunting. There are 191,522 results. But you can see I can filter by subject area. And here's where we have even a more narrow grade band for which to find resources. Filters are your friend. So if we can filter here on the left-hand side, I can filter by Lexile level score and even by languages. So if I'm in videos, and I scroll down, you see I can filter by Spanish. Now this will, clicking on this will pull up all of my Spanish videos, or videos in Spanish rather. And then I can filter further by going into subject area or grade band. So can you, well, I'm trying to see if I can find the chat actually, but I would love to hear about how some of the teachers on the line or coordinators have used Discovery Education experience to share with some other folks. Is that possible? Maybe you can come off mute.
Yeah, whoever would like to kind of share, you could just kind of come off mute like Anne had asked. Has anyone here already been using Discovery Education and kind of talk about how they've been using it? Right, so for many it may be a new resource, and hopefully one that, because there's that free component right now, that they can kind of get their feet wet and see the benefits for all of their students. And then hopefully when things resume in the new school year, contact you to continue using it.
Yes, that would be great. And the other thing to mention is that we have created some focused professional development around English language learners. So using Discovery Education and this platform. So that's something to think about and consider. It's great to look at the resource and sort of dabble, but we are able to pull in specialists and have a more focused approach to professional learning. So that is another option. And just one last thing I'd like to mention, Denise, if I have a minute or so.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're known for, besides that standards band, which I think is very unique, is something we call SOS, or Spotlight on Strategies. So I would be sad if nobody knew Spotlight on Strategies, because it's something we've been talking about for a long time. But essentially, these are concrete strategies that are tried and true and tested by teachers as far as ways to use digital resources in the classroom or to be assigned to students. So rather than students passively watching a video, we have created these strategies to be paired with digital content. So one of them, for example, is 6-word story. And it's where students are asked to synthesize information, whether it's looking at an image or watching a video, synthesize that into 6 words. So it doesn't have to be a sentence. It can just literally be 6 random words to describe an image or content. And the way we've done this is we've provided teachers with kind of a walkthrough from another teacher about what this might look like
Discovery Education
in a video.
presents Spotlight on Strategies Video Prep Series, presented by the DEN community. Yay! All right.
Hi, I'm Selena Ward from Prince George's County, Maryland.
So here's a teacher talking about the use of this 6-word strategy with her classroom, and what asset you might be able to use and how it would work the best. So those that really know Discovery Education Experience know that these strategies are precious and well known in terms of our service. So I certainly hope that that's a tab that you all are using if you're in Discovery Education Experience. If not, I hope you start using it.
Yes, thank you, Anne, for showing us that, because I have used Discovery Education in the past, but I was not familiar with that tab. So thank you.
Great, absolutely. And what I can do is I'll put my email address in the chat. So if there are any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. But I appreciate your partnership. For those of you that are already with Discovery Education, Long Island is very strong in terms of our partnership. So thank you, and thank you for all you do, and good luck out there. Be safe.
Thank you, Anne.
Yes.
And so as Anne mentioned, she'll put her email address so that if you need to contact her, if you have questions, you can do that as well. And Anne, as soon as you stop, once you're able to stop sharing your screen, then I'll just put up our contact information once more. So let's see here. So here's Anne's email address, which I think we had put in the chat for you as well.
Yes.
All right. And
Thank you.
let me see here. Can I take a step back? No? Okay. All right. And there. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Sorry. And again, here's the Long Island RBERN contact information. So this, during this time, we are available. So if you need to contact any one of us, please email us. We are checking our emails throughout the day, so we can get back to you as soon as possible. And also check out our website, because that is where we're putting all of our distance learning resources. And this particular presentation will be available no later than Thursday, and also the presentation, the PowerPoint as well. And we may, as I mentioned earlier, be reaching out to some of you. I've already contacted some of you through the chat. Based on all the resources that you have been using, we may ask you to participate in our follow-up Friday. So on Friday, we're going to have a collegial circle. It may include you and some other participants from the region who are sharing some of the different resources that they've been using. So less of a presentation from us, but more of you all talking to one another. And thank you, Anne. Anne also put her number there too, if that's an easier way for you to contact her. So thank you, Anne. We have about a minute left. Does anyone have any questions? If you want, you can unmute yourself. Okay. And if you didn't already, please make sure in the chat that you put your full name, so that is the way that we will be keeping track of attendance. And if you register through My Learning Plan, that's where you will earn your and be able to print your CTLE credit as well. And we will be advertising, I see some chats coming up, some questions. We will be advertising the follow-up Friday soon, so you should receive an email if you're on our ENL bilingual listserv. And you can also check our website. We'll have the link there to My Learning Plan, or if you're a My Learning Plan user already, you can go right to My Learning Plan. You'll see it in the catalog soon. All right, so with that, if there are no other questions, we thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. And thank you, Anne. Thank you for being with us again.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right. Be safe. Be well, everyone.